Welcome. You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed 5-minute podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now stay tuned for your host, Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
Hey everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. Today is the 5th and final day of the healing experience on the topic of failure. Each month, I pick a topic and we talk for 5 days straight about healing in that area. If you have not joined me before, make sure you hit the link beneath this episode and get caught up. Start back with us on Monday, and I'll give you guys a brief rundown of what we've talked about thus far this week. So the series has been based and inspired by the scripture, Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16, and it talks about how, you fall 7 times, you stand back up 8, and then if you are pretty much doing things you don't have any business doing, you're going to stumble. You are going to consistently come into a place of just not being aligned with the Lord and doing exactly what it is that He's calling you to do. It's very hard to achieve that when you are all over the place. So one of the things that I actually talked about yesterday was about how, you are the one that can control how these things come to pass, especially, when it comes to stumbling. I think it is so important that once you figure out exactly who you are and what it is that you are called to do, that you begin to do it. And if you are in a situation where you do not know what that is for you, you have to begin to assess the things that you have been holding on to as failures that could be potentially keeping you from moving forward and excelling. Okay. So also, if you're interested, also, you can get the book. There is a workbook, a digital workbook that's available for download. It can also be printed. You can also use it in the PDF filler, and it helps. It talks about all of the topics. If you get that book, actually, it'll show you all of the topics for the year, and you can see all of the questions ahead of time. But I definitely would encourage you to get it and, check it out. You may find that it can help you through the process. If you don't get the workbook, that's not a problem either. But I want to make sure you get a journal, have an ink pen, or even if you use the voice notes on your cell phone, keep up so that you can begin to write out your feelings, your emotions if you need to, and really get to the bottom of the things that have been trying to keep you from operating in excellence and being your highest, your greatest, and your best self. Oftentimes we cannot achieve these things because we have been inundated with failure or the misconception of what failure actually is. And we keep perpetuating the cycle. We keep going over and over and over again, not realizing that the way this thing is set up, God does not want us to feel like we can't get past who we are. God does not want us to get so inundated in ourselves and so focused on ourselves that all we can see ourselves as is a failure. Okay. So with that being said, let's go to day 1 just for a recap. And, day 1's question was something that I feel, is necessary, because what you find with people is we don't ask the right questions. I think sometimes we do a lot of talking. We may ask questions, but it's all about asking the right questions. And when you ask the right questions on the same topic, when you you may have the same topic. You can talk about this all the time with people, but when the questions change, you can get the answers you desire. And sometimes that's just what it requires. That's why with this series, guys, every day I ask a different question within the experience. So every day there is something to ponder. Okay. So the first question was, what is your barometer for success? A lot of times we are, kind of like the chain falls off the track, because, and I'm, imagine like on a bicycle and the chain falls off and, you're still trying to move the wheels, but it's like you're not going anywhere. It's very similar to being on a hamster's wheel, right? One of the things I want you guys to think about is the barometer for success that you maintain, is it truly yours? Is it really who you are at your core? Or is it what someone else's belief is concerning success? Because what can happen is you can latch on and get connected to people and what their perception of success is, and you are trying to emulate that. You are trying to mimic that model, and it is the furthest thing from the destiny that God has for you. Is your focus perpetuated by someone else's barometer for success, or is it what you really desire? Because what you also begin to find is this: if it is not your thing, okay, if it is not your thing, you will find more often than not, things just don't go your way. You will find more often than not, you constantly feel like a failure. You constantly feel like you can't get it together. I'm not saying that you're not going to have trying times and things are not going to necessarily be on the up and up. But what will happen is you will get to a place and you will have to stop and say, okay, listen, something is awry, because I keep trying to attempt this and I'm just not getting anywhere. And sometimes when you ask that question, you know what? I'm confident. Everybody knows I'm on top of my game. I do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes you will find even the most successful people, the most notable people that you may have heard of, they really struggle with that. And some of them, again, I said this last year in one of my hack series, and I heard this also from my church some years ago, that, it's a terrible thing when you are climbing the ladder to success only to realize you climbed up the wrong building. This is what this is like sometimes, because what we'll discover is we taking L's and writing these failures down on our resumes, and it's really paths and things that we potentially could have avoided if we were really true to ourselves and what God was telling us to do. Putting those things together and allowing the Holy Spirit to just really lead you and guide you to get to the place where you need to be. But oftentimes we miss that opportunity to be great because we are just, again, inundated with what someone else thinks success is, and we don't even realize it. So I want you to think about that. Perhaps you may have gone through something in your life, and maybe the people around you think, oh man, it'll be great if you do this. It'll be great if you do that. But that's not really what you want to do. But because it sounds good and you're good at it, you go for it. And it just may not be your thing. So I really want you to consider that. I really want you to think about it, because here's how it works. Once the enemy sees that you are going to make those strides to do something new, to do something different, and to literally get aligned with the purpose that God has for you, all hell breaks loose. And more often than not, he will try to highlight things in your life that you thought were failures, or times when you thought you were a failure, and he will try to rub it in. So be on guard. Once, this series, if you are really taking this series seriously, or this experience seriously, you will find that the attacks will come, but they will be in and out quickly. They will not last, because it's all a mirage. It's only to get you off course, and it's only to try to make you stay in the place of feeling inadequate. It's only designed to make you feel like you cannot get ahead. You can't go to the next level the way you feel in your gut you're supposed to, but you just can't get around the concept of failure, and you just really don't understand it, right? So on day 2, the question was, is it a person or an event? Now, this is something that I told you guys, and I say it again. Failure is not a person, it's an event, okay? So you have to ask yourself, what is igniting this feeling of causing you to think that you are a failure? What is it? What is happening? What is the narrative going on right now that's making you go to the place of saying, I am a failure? Listen, it is so important and imperative that we choose our words. Okay? Choosing our words is paramount. And the reason why I say that is because if you are calling yourself something that you are not, and you consistently drill that in your mind, you are going to believe that. I read something earlier, and it simply said, your life is a reflection of what's in your mind right now. Your thoughts right now. And I thought that was pretty deep. And it's a bit obtuse. It's big, and it's, you can go a whole bunch of different ways with it. But if I just take it at the surface level, it was really deep, and it reminded me of failure and how we've been talking about it this week. And simply put, listen, it's up to you. It's whatever you decide. You know what I'm saying? It's up to you and whatever you decide. Because if you do not want to get past the place of feeling stuck, If you want to just romance the narrative of, oh, I'm a failure, I didn't do good. If you want to stay in a victim place, then have at it. But I don't encourage it. And honestly, if that's what you feel like you need to do, I can guarantee you can have at it for as long as you think you can. But as long as you have that one little tiny nudge in your spirit that's letting you know that God has greater and better, that is going to quickly become disgusting. You are going to hate the feeling, and you are going to begin to find a way to rise above it. And sometimes you just have to say to yourself, listen, self, this ain't working. Now, I don't have any answers either, but hey, I need to reposition myself. And guess what? The Holy Spirit, the Lord, is going to come in and conspire everything around you to line up with his perfect will. Once you say that's exactly what you want for your life, and you will find everything will start coming together for you. Right? So I want you to think about something else. Now, when we got to day 3, the question was, it was similar to question 1, but this one was more about you, right? So here's the question. Who or what is successful to you? Because this is where the other problem comes in. See, when you're talking about a barometer, you're looking at a person, and it could be what they're inflicting on you, and they're telling you that's what success is, or it could be how you relate to it. It could be your view and your vision. You might be the one saying, hey, this is the only way I know success because this is what I see. But today's question is really designed to cause you to think and get past those layers. We talked about peeling back the layers. Again, if you haven't listened, hit the link below this episode and check it out. We talked about peeling back those layers. And underneath those layers, you will find that there'll be people along the journey. When you begin to hash this thing out and talk about things, maybe even things from your childhood, things from your past, things that you thought you were going to get, sometimes y'all, we go up for things. We apply for jobs. We try to add value to our businesses. We can audition for things. We can attempt to create relationships. We could shoot our shot for different opportunities. We're trying to expand, in our careers and our purpose. And then we lose or again, we fail. Again, not being a failure yourself, but you may fail at it. And then you have to nurse that wound. You have to, kind of nurse yourself back to your spiritual health. You know what I'm saying? When you're kind of feeling like you got your confidence going again, and you have to nurse that. But what you'll find is once you have those experiences, they become a series, right? They become a series of events that get you to your place of success. We fail our way to success. It's those things that fell through that we look back one day and say, oh my God, it could not have been that for me. If I would have gotten that, my life would have been different. And what you don't realize is sometimes, and usually, honestly, more often than not, right after that failure, right after that event takes place that did not seem favorable to you, right down the pipeline, usually next in line, oftentimes next in line, it's perfect for you. You can make it your own. It's not even something you thought about. It becomes even surreal. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening. And this just happened to me. And God is so good, y'all. He will allow something just something so incredible, such a divine surprise to happen to you. And it just literally just takes your breath away, because you finally acquiesce and say, hey, God, listen, I am no longer a victim. I'm no longer calling myself a failure. I am no longer feeling like my attempts are never going to get me the desired result. You begin to rise above it, and you begin to go to the level that God has already prepared for you. And it causes you to just leap right past the foolery of all of the fuzzy stuff, the funny stuff, all of the stuff that had you confused and feeling like you were a failure and you were worthless. And God, why did this happen to me? Why is my life like this? Like when God shows up like that, after you've gone through those experiences, he will do something in such a way where you say, oh my God. Y'all, sometimes you even forget about it. Sometimes God comes so hard with the next move after that blow you had. Oh my God. He will come with something so dope. And I don't know who needs to hear this part, but let me say this to you prophetically. Some of you can't get that next big, great thing from God because you will not let go of the thing that didn't work. You have to let it go. You have to let it go. God can't even release the next thing because you still holding on to the last failure. he can't even release it to you. He can't. There's no room. Oh, but God could do anything, Robin. Yes, he can. But God is not going to put something in your hands only for it to slip through it, because he know you can't handle it. You got so much other stuff in your hand and he trying to squeeze it in on the side, and it's going to slip through your fingers. God is not going to do you like that, but you can do you like that. So what does that mean to you? Think about it. Think about your own life. Think about your own scenario. What is this looking like for you? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you know that there's something you've been holding on, and some of y'all, it's multiple things. It's like, this one played me, that one played me. I tried to do that. I didn't get it. I lost my job. My relationship ain't this, and blah, 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 blah. And at some point you have to understand, listen, it's a dirty world, but it keep on spinning. You dig? It is what it is. And I'm not saying that to be careless or cavalier at all. But what I'm saying to you is this. Once you come into the knowledge and the understanding that you have to move on, and anything that you have failed at, it's only a blessing and a lesson that you add into your book, your repertoire of experiences and highs and lows that only catapult you to your highest level of growth and experience. Listen, when you get to that place and you see it for what it is, you start looking at your failures as faith. You start looking at your failures as blessings. You start looking at your failures as, hey, I had to have the faith to go through this. And even though it didn't work out, I had what it took. And even though God said no to that, that means that he's going to say yes to something coming up. But the answer is not going to always be no. At some point, I'm going to shoot my shot and I'm not going to miss. So I need you guys to really think about how God is showing you in your own personal narrative of what's going on right now. Because I'm going to tell you, once you get to that space, it's game over. You can't even get in your own way. When you supersede your own low level thinking, like, oh man, it's just this and it's that. Man, listen, when I think about Jesus and I think about his mentality and I think about how he had to face so much stuff, man. Like, he was just constantly spewing love and kindness and just always trying to be down for people, always trying to show, concern and whatnot, just always trying to keep it 100 with everybody. And people just did not respect his mind at all. When I think about that and I think about the sacrifices and I think about modern day Jesus experiences that we all have, y'all, it's trying. It's not easy. And no, I will never diminish failure, because I just think it's a beautiful part of my story now. It's a beautiful part of your story. But the only way you can see it that way is if you allow yourself to. Okay. It's not just going to become that if you don't believe it. You can say it, but oftentimes I tell you guys, decree and declare, and it shall be established. So you may start saying it now, and it may not make a whole lot of sense to you now, but one day it will. So think about that. Now, let me tell you the question for day 4. It's, did you prepare for what you were attempting? A lot of times, y'all, we begin to make failure us and say we are the failure because we did not prepare for what we were attempting. So I just want to urge you, whatever it is that you are desiring to do, for future notice, okay? For your future, because we can't undo what has happened before this moment, before now. But what I would encourage you to do is to really, really think about what preparation does to your confidence, and how the better you prepare yourself for something, it doesn't mean everything is always going to be successful. Because if people both prepare for a game, somebody has to lose and somebody has to win. So you're going to end up on one side of the coin. You just don't know what until it plays out. But you will go into the situation with far more confidence. And if you don't win in the end, you will feel better. Even though initially I did all of that work and it didn't work. But in the end, like all the way in the end, you're going to feel better. And all it's going to do is encourage you to begin again, try again. And there's going to be that one time that you try, and that is your try. That's going to be the time where it is your personal game changer. But you will never get to your personal game changer if you do not allow yourself to get there. It'll never happen. It just doesn't work like that. It'll never happen. That's why I want to make sure that I'm very clear when I say this to you. Okay? Very clear. You have to prepare for what you're attempting. It is that simple. Because if not, it is always going to be a thing about it's against you, or I did all of this and it's not working. Change your narrative. I promise you, you're going to be hitting me up. Email me if you need to, podcast@imwiredtoinspire.com. You're going to be telling me all types of stories about how that changed the game for you, right? Now, we're just at the end, guys, and I want to leave you with the last question for you to ponder. And I just want to, thank you guys so much for listening. This is our 6th healing experience for 2018. Make sure, again, you read the list below this episode, and it shows you all 6 topics so far. And we are mid-year, so July through December, we're going to ride this thing out with 6 more topics. And I believe next month is I think this is probably the one I've been looking forward to the whole year. And next month for July, the topic is sinking ships. And believe it or not, I'm going to be talking about some ships, and you can't miss it. You cannot miss it. You can't miss it. I'm coming a whole nother way. People are going to be expecting relationship talk and all of that. I'm talking about that. But that's not the only ship I'm talking about. I'm talking about flagships too. So that's just a little sneak peek of what's ahead for July. But yes, July is called Sinking Ships. So you cannot miss it. Again, get caught up. And y'all, it's all of the episodes from the entire year are available as well. So if you enjoyed this particular week on failure, go back and check out the other topics. I think we did Heartbreak and Process, the Past, Mistrust. And there may be another one that I may have forgotten. But yes, get the list. It's hyperlinked. You can go straight to the workbook if you want that too. If not, write in your journal, your computer, your cell phone, and save the information so that you can be ready to really work out anything that could be lingering. You might be doing great. You might already be in therapy. You might already be, really redeveloping and reconnecting with your relationship with Christ, or, really, really trying to develop and continue to have that relationship with God. I don't know where you're at on your level. I don't know what you're doing, but I will continue to encourage you, because it's little things like this that, you could happen upon, and it can be a game changer. So as we ride out, this is the last question for today and for this week. It is simply, how can you move forward? Okay. I'm not going to make this hard, and I'm not going to make this super deep. But this is what I'm going to tell you about failure. And this is what I want you to remember for the rest of your life. And it's very short. I read this somewhere, and I felt I thought it was the perfect way to close out this experience. Remember, failure is just a bruise. It's not a tattoo. So stop making these little instances and situations a permanent scar that's causing you to be hindered from doing the very thing that God wants you to do. A bruise will heal and it'll go away, but a tattoo will stay. So you decide if you are going to tattoo your fate and stay in a position of perpetually feeling like a failure, not getting over the hump, not changing the game, or if you are going to get ahead of it and say, you know what, this is what it is. I appreciate that this did not happen in my favor. I don't like how it feels, but I appreciate it, because now I'm going to take everything that I learned from not being successful at this particular event, this particular situation, this particular relationship. I may have failed in my execution of this situation, but I am not a failure, and I look forward to being properly positioned in my future so that when I attempt this again, I will not fail and I will see success, because I do understand I will no longer tattoo failure on my person. I will never tattoo failure on the script of my life. Instead, it's a bruise. I got a bump, but it'll heal. I'm good. The Lord is good. And I know that as long as I keep my focus on Him, as long as I continue to do the work, as long as I keep my focus on adding value, as long as I keep my focus on remembering that the failure is my friend, the failure is not my enemy, the failure is designed to make me stronger. And if I have the mindset that the failure is designed to make me lose or to make me not be great, then I can get stuck in that. But your attitude determines your altitude, and it's all about you deciding what is most important for you. And what is most important in this season when it comes to healing is understanding that you can never be a failure, my friend. It is virtually impossible. You can fail at something, but failure is not a person. It's an event. And one more time for your mind. Failure is not a tattoo. It's simply a bruise. I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to the inspirationspecialist.life or I'mWiredToInspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again, and see you next time.